On the Label tab, you can set up to 4 different labels. You have the option to free text or use inserts. With free text, we can type name in here, and name will appear before the patient's first name on the label. You can also give your label a name, so for this one I might type in address so we can pick out that this label is just the patient address. Just like before, you have the insert option, so we click on insert. We've got all the different lists. If we want any other ones, we can change the filter and select from here. If I want to add the location phone number, again I just click on it, OK, and it's added it in there. I may choose to make the text bold, and the right click gives me the option to do that. Now I would first need to highlight the text that I wanted to make bold. So now it's highlighted, I'll right click and come down to bold. So now when I print the labels, the location phone number will print in bold. And the quick key for printing labels is Control F10. Up to the Forms and Form Numbers tab now. So we said before we define the type of encounter form here. So as we mentioned before, if you want to make your own encounter slip, you'll need to have it set to custom. I'll just run through some of these options here. So auto select appointment book. What this means is if you have it ticked, when a new patient is put on the pallet by the F2 search, then it will change the appointment book to be that patient's provider. So if you search for the patient, put them on the pallet, it will automatically change the appointment book to that patient's provider, and it pulls that from the F3 screen. So whoever they've got set up as their provider in the F3 screen, it will open the appointment book for them. Active patient and appointment book. This means when appointments are made from within the appointment book, that patient will become active on the pallet. So you can use the ellipsis button, the 3 dots, to put a patient into the appointment book, and then if you have this tick, it will automatically make that the active patient on the pallet as well. Forced password entry into queue means when a patient is selected from the queue and put into consultation, the password screen will appear. Here on the right hand side, print ethnicities on the encounter slip is greyed out, but if I come up to the encounter form and change it from custom to standard, down to standard, okay, now I can select print ethnicities. So this option's only available on the standard encounter form. You can't actually tick this when you've got it set to custom. You can select to prompt users for appointment cancellation, so if a patient cancels their appointment you need to put in the reason, and this is quite handy when you're doing reports, so you can do a report on why patients are cancelling. Manage provider and patient transactions allows for you to use the in-consultation screen, and this is predominantly used in accident and medical centres. There is a separate webinar available on this, but it basically records when a patient is going between a doctor and a nurse, so you can just see how long they've spent with each of those providers. Enrollment form allows you to select the outbox document for the enrollment form that you can print from the appointment book. Now you can also set it up in Staff Setup to print at the same time as the encounter slip prints. Colour coding the appointment book. This means that it will show all patients without an enrollment status in the F3 as orange. So if a patient hasn't confirmed or declined enrollment and they haven't entered anything in the F3 screen, they'll then show an orange in the appointment book. Patients will also show an orange if they have a confirmed enrollment. However, that enrollment date is more than 2 years and 10 months from the current date, and that patient hasn't been invoiced in more than 3 years from the current date. So basically patients that haven't been seen in 3 years and their enrollment date is out by at least 2 years and 10 months. If you have any babies under the new B code enrollment, then they would show as pink. So that's for the babies that have a newborn status in the appointment book. They would have a pink colour next to them. It wouldn't normally be ticked for the colour to include casuals. The enrollment status on the pallet is a good one to tick, and disabled patient register funding dates, we recommend definitely having this ticked. Now this means that no one can alter the dates for a patient's funding. So this is for PHO practices. You can go in and alter the funding dates. Now on the odd occasion that a practice manager needs to manually change things after the LinkTech PHO import has been done, they would take the tick out and make the change, but then you would put these ticks back in so that no one's adjusting or editing funding dates. coming down to ACC 45 details, so this is where you're able to enter your accident numbers. So you have the prefix and vendor ID, the next ACC number, and the last ACC, which you would actually get from ACC. You'd get a batch of numbers, and this is where you can come in and enter them. You do have the option to enter the ACC numbers under the staff setup. If the practice is going to be sharing the numbers, so each doctor will be using the same batch of numbers, you'd have them set up in the location setup, and you wouldn't have it set up in staff. So you have to have it either in the location or in the staff. If the whole practice is going to share the numbers, you'd have them set up in location. You can add a message to your pharmacy script, and you can also enable prescribing warning messages. That's not often used. Next we have the web forms tab. That won't be covered in this webinar as it is site specific, so depending on your environment you'd have different web form information there. And Q is covered in the accident and medical webinar, which is already available on the website.